One of the most peculiar confusions in modern life is this constant attempt to be good, to be moral, to be spiritual, to be right. And the more you try, the more you seem to fall short. It's as though life has become a contest where everyone's pretending not to be pretending. You look around and see all these people trying very hard to be kind, to be wise, to be awakened. And deep down, you feel that same anxious pulse. Am I doing this right? Am I good enough yet? But what if goodness isn't something you can possess or achieve? What if the very act of trying to be good is precisely what keeps you from understanding what goodness really is? Now, most people live with this inner referee, a voice that's constantly evaluating everything they do. That was selfish. That wasn't nice. You should have been more patient. And on it goes, a sort of invisible moral accountant keeping score of your spiritual worth. But that voice, you see, is the problem. Because the moment you begin to observe yourself through the lens of how you should be, you stop being alive, spontaneous, and real. You turn into a performance, a rather mechanical imitation of a saint. This is why so many spiritual people look terribly serious. They've made goodness into a duty rather than a dance. They don't laugh as much anymore because laughter feels too undisciplined. They don't make mistakes because mistakes would ruin their image of being enlightened. And yet, all along, life itself is laughing because the universe has no interest in perfection. The trees don't grow in straight lines. The stars don't orbit according to our sense of morality. Even the human heart beats irregularly. It's wild, alive, and imperfect. To be good, in the truest sense, is not to follow a rule book. It is to flow in harmony with what is. When you act out of love, you don't have to remember commandments. When you see clearly, you don't have to suppress anything. Trying to be good, however, always implies that you are not already. It means you've divided yourself into the saint you wish to be and the sinner you secretly suspect you are. And that division, that tension, is precisely what makes you miserable. Because now you're at war with yourself. And every time you think you've conquered a bad habit or a wrong thought, another one appears because the judge within never sleeps. The truth is, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with you. There's only life learning about itself through the strange adventure of being you. When you stop trying to be good, you begin to see good everywhere. In laughter, in mistakes, in confusion, in chaos. You discover that the world doesn't need to be purified, only understood. And the moment understanding dawns, compassion arises naturally. Now, let's look at where this idea of being good really comes from. For most of us, it began when we were quite small. The adults around us taught us that if we behaved, we would be loved. If we were obedient, quiet, and polite, we were good children. And when we made noise, broke something, or simply acted on impulse, we were bad. So we grew up believing that love must be earned, and that goodness is a kind of currency we spend to buy acceptance. That conditioning follows us everywhere. It hides behind your politeness, your ambition, even your spirituality. You smile when you don't feel like it. You agree when you want to say no. You meditate, not because you love silence, but because you're afraid of being wrong. And all the while, something inside you whispers, "This isn't real. I'm faking it." The more you try to be pure, the more you sense your impurity. It's like trying to clean muddy water by stirring it faster. The very effort makes it cloudy. Now, guilt is society's favorite trick. It's an emotional leash. Because if you can be made to feel guilty, you can be controlled. The priest says, "You've sinned." The politician says, "You've failed your duty." The advertiser says, "You're not enough until you buy this." And you, the poor creature, believe all of them. Because deep down, you still think you need to prove yourself worthy of love. But what if love isn't a reward? What if it's the very nature of existence, something you can't increase or decrease by your behavior? Imagine for a moment that you're standing in sunlight. The sun doesn't ask if you've been good today. It doesn't shine only on saints and skip over sinners. It simply shines because that's what it is. The same is true of life itself. You don't need to deserve it. You just need to notice it. Now, when I say stop trying to be good, I don't mean be wicked or ignore others, but to act without that inattention, to let kindness arise from clarity, not compulsion. A flower doesn't bloom out of guilt. It opens because it's in its nature to do so. And when you act from understanding, not from duty, your goodness has that same effortless grace. You begin to notice something fascinating. That what you called virtue before was mostly fear. Fear of rejection, fear of punishment, fear of being seen as unworthy. When fear drops away, you discover something far more beautiful than moral perfection. You find authenticity. You can finally laugh at yourself, make a mistake, and not collapse into shame. Disagree with someone and still love them. And that laughter, that lightness, is far closer to the divine than all the guilt-ridden seriousness of the world's so-called holy people. Because life, in its deepest wisdom, does not demand that you be perfect. Only that you be awake enough to enjoy the imperfection. Now, let's come to the heart of it. If trying to be good makes you miserable, what happens when you simply stop trying? Most people imagine chaos. They think, if I stop trying to be good, I'll turn selfish. I'll lose discipline. The world will fall apart. But that fear comes from misunderstanding what you actually are. You see, the ego believes that it must manage life. It imagines itself as a sort of moral supervisor, constantly on duty, making sure you don't say the wrong thing or think the wrong thought. But who is this supervisor? It's just a bundle of habits, memories, and borrowed rules pretending to be you. The moment you recognize that, you begin to laugh. Because you see that life doesn't need your supervision at all. The trees grow without your permission. Your heart beats perfectly on its own. The sun rises, the seasons turn, and the universe keeps unfolding without your moral approval. So why should the flow of your own nature be any different? The truth is, you don't need to become good. You already are. in the same way that the river is clear when it stops being disturbed. Your nature, unclouded by guilt, by control, by self-condemnation, is naturally compassionate. When you stop playing the part of the moral policeman, you start to feel something much simpler, much kinder, a gentle affection for everything. You no longer help people to prove your goodness. You help because you see yourself in them. You no longer avoid mistakes out of fear. You learn from them with curiosity, the way nature learns, through trial and renewal. Real virtue, you see, isn't moral rigidity, it's sensitivity. It's being so awake that you can't help but care. And caring doesn't require effort, it's as natural as breathing. The miserable man, the one who's always striving to be pure, is like someone trying to make the ocean still by flattening the waves. He exhausts himself in the name of peace, but the wise man simply watches, and in seeing, he understands that the ocean was never broken. To live freely is not to abandon ethics, but to discover a deeper honesty than any code could contain. An honesty that begins with this simple recognition: you are not separate from the world you're trying to fix. When that insight settles, your actions change quietly. Not because they must, but because love moves through you in its own way. You might smile at a stranger, speak kindly to someone you once judged, or finally forgive yourself, not as a moral duty, but as a natural unfolding of awareness. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be good, you start to behave in ways that no rule book could ever command. Goodness stops being a costume and becomes a fragrance, a subtle presence that flows through you because you are no longer in the way of it. And when you finally understand this, that there is no need to improve yourself, you begin to feel the most beautiful kind of relief, a deep sigh from the soul, saying, "Ah, so this is what it means to be free."
You know, there's a peculiar kind of exhaustion that comes not from physical labor or even from emotional strain, but from the sheer relentless noise of your own thinking, the mind that simply will not stop, the constant commentary, the endless analysis, the perpetual conversation with yourself about yourself. And the strangest part of it all is that the more you try to quiet it down, the louder it seems to get. It's like trying to smooth water by slapping it. The very effort creates more disturbance. Now, most people assume that a busy mind is a sign of intelligence, of being thoughtful, of being engaged with life. We celebrate the thinker, don't we? We admire the person who's always analyzing, always questioning, always working things out in their head. But here's what nobody tells you. There's a difference between thinking and being trapped in thought. There's a difference between using your mind as a tool and being used by your mind as a prison. And if you're honest with yourself, you know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling of lying in bed at night while your mind rehearses conversations that haven't happened yet, replays conversations that already did, analyzes every little thing you said or didn't say, should have said, might say tomorrow. You know that experience of sitting in a beautiful place, surrounded by everything you thought you wanted, and barely being present for any of it because your mind is somewhere else entirely, chewing on some problem, spinning some story, lost in some elaborate maze of its own construction. The mind won't shut up because, and here's the paradox, you keep asking it to. You see, every time you tell yourself to stop thinking, what are you doing? You're thinking about not thinking. you're using thought to try to eliminate thought. It's like trying to use fire to put out fire. The very attempt is the problem. The thinker trying to stop thinking is itself a thought. So the mind just keeps going, now thinking about why it's thinking about how to stop thinking about how tired it is of thinking. And so it spirals. You notice your mind is busy, and you judge it. You shouldn't be thinking so much. You should be more present. You should be more peaceful, more mindful, more zen. And now you're thinking about not thinking, judging yourself for thinking, planning how to think less, analyzing why you think so much. The mind has taken the project of quieting itself and turned it into just another thing to think about, another problem to solve, another way to keep itself busy. But here's what's really happening underneath all of this mental noise. The mind won't shut up because it's terrified, absolutely terrified. Of what, you ask? Of nothing. Literally. The mind is terrified of the gap, the space, the moment of no thought. Because the mind, you see, thinks it is you. It believes that if it stops, you stop. If there's no thought, there's no self. So it keeps generating content, keeps producing commentary, keeps the stream going at all costs because silence feels like death to the thinking mind. Think about it. When was the last time you experienced a genuine gap in thinking? And I don't mean sleep. I don't mean being knocked unconscious. I mean a moment of waking awareness where there simply was no thought, no commentary, no analysis, no planning, no remembering, just pure perception without interpretation. For most people, these moments are incredibly rare, fleeting, accidental, a sudden shock, a moment of awe, a split second before thought catches up with experience. And if you've had even one of these moments, you know something profound. You didn't disappear. You were still there. In fact, you were more there, more present, more alive than you are when the mind is running its constant show. But the mind doesn't trust this. The mind is convinced that it needs to keep narrating your life or else there won't be a life to narrate. It's like a radio that's terrified of being turned off. So it keeps broadcasting static rather than risk silence. And you've identified so completely with the broadcast that you think you are the static. You think the noise is you. So of course you can't turn it off. You'd be turning yourself off. This is why meditation is so difficult for most people. They sit down with the intention of quieting the mind, and the mind immediately goes into overdrive, because now it's been directly challenged. Now there's a you trying to control it, and it responds by getting louder, more insistent, more chaotic. It throws everything at you: memories, plans, itches, philosophical questions, random songs, shopping lists, anything and everything to keep the show going. And you sit there fighting with it, trying to push thoughts away, and the more you push, the more they push back. Here's another paradox for you. The mind won't shut up because you want it to shut up. Your desire for a quiet mind is itself a form of mental noise. It's the mind complaining about itself, critiquing itself, trying to improve itself. It's thought trying to eliminate thought. So the wanting becomes just another layer of thinking. Now you're not just thinking, you're thinking about thinking, judging your thinking, trying to stop thinking, and feeling like a failure because you can't stop thinking. The original problem has multiplied, and we've created entire industries around this, haven't we? Mindfulness apps, meditation retreats, books on how to quiet your mind, courses on being present, all of which can be helpful, certainly. But notice what often happens. The mind takes these tools and turns them into just another project, another thing to achieve, another way to measure yourself, another standard you're failing to meet. You're not just a person with a busy mind anymore. Now you're a person who's failing at meditation, who can't even do mindfulness right, who's so hopeless that even when you're trying to be present, you're thinking about whether you're being present correctly. The thinking never stops because we've made thinking into our primary mode of being. We think about what we're going to do, then we do it while thinking about whether we're doing it right. Then we think about what we did and whether we should have done it differently. We think about the past with regret. We think about the future with anxiety. And we miss the present entirely because we're too busy thinking about it to actually be in it. And the content of the thinking, it doesn't even matter most of the time. It's not like you're solving profound problems or having brilliant insights. Most of it is just repetitive loops. The same worries recycled in slightly different forms. The same stories told and retold. The same arguments rehearsed. The same plans made and revised. It's like watching the same movie over and over, and not even a good movie, just a anxious, repetitive, self-absorbed drama starring you as both the hero and the villain and the critic reviewing the performance. But here's what's really exhausting about it. The mind that won't shut up is also the mind that won't commit. It can't fully engage with anything because it's always partially somewhere else. You're in one conversation while thinking about another conversation. You're doing one task while planning the next task. You're experiencing one moment while comparing it to past moments or imagining future moments. You're never fully anywhere because your attention is fractured across time, split between what was, what is, and what might be. And people sense this about you, even if they can't name it. They sense that you're not fully present, that part of you is always elsewhere, always distracted, always thinking about something other than what's right in front of you. And this creates a kind of loneliness, doesn't it? Because even when you're with people, even when you're supposedly connecting, there's this gap, this distance, this sense that you're not really there. You're performing being there while your mind is running its endless program somewhere in the background.
Before we continue, many of you have been asking for something longer, something with actual practices you can use in daily life. So check out the 3-hour audiobook that takes everything we explore in these videos and gives you the tools to actually work with it. Because here's the thing, intellectual understanding without practical application just keeps you spinning in your head. You need both, the insight and the practice, the philosophy and the daily work that makes it real. This audiobook gives you that. 3 hours of deep wisdom with practices built in, so you're not just thinking differently, you're living differently. If you're serious about changing how you experience your life, the link is in the description below. Now, let's continue.
So what do you do about a mind that won't shut up? Well, here's where it gets interesting. You don't do anything about it. And this is perhaps the greatest paradox of all. The solution to the problem of the busy mind is to stop trying to solve it. The way to quiet the mind is to stop trying to quiet it, because the trying is the noise. The effort to fix yourself is what's broken. You see, the mind isn't actually a problem. It never was. The problem is your relationship with the mind. You think you're supposed to control it, manage it, optimize it, quiet it, but that's like trying to control the weather. The mind does what minds do. It thinks. It produces thoughts the way the heart produces beats and the lungs produce breaths. Thoughts arise. This is natural. This is what minds are for. The suffering doesn't come from the thoughts themselves. It comes from your relationship with the thoughts, from believing them, identifying with them, taking them as truth, taking them as you. When a thought arises that says you're not good enough, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to identify with it. You don't have to take it personally. It's just a thought, a pattern of neural activity, a wave in the ocean of consciousness. It arises and it passes, and you, the awareness that notices it, you remain. But we've been taught to take thoughts very seriously. We've been taught that what we think is who we are, that our thoughts are our identity. So when we have an anxious thought, we become an anxious person. When we have a depressive thought, we become a depressed person. When we have a mean thought, we become a bad person. We collapse the space between the awareness and the content of awareness. We identify with the passing weather and forget we're the sky. Here's what I want you to understand. You are not your thoughts. You never were. You are the space in which thoughts appear. You are the awareness that knows thoughts are happening. And this awareness, this consciousness, it doesn't have a busy mind. It doesn't have any mind at all. It's prior to mind, deeper than mind, more fundamental than mind. The thoughts come and go in you, but you don't come and go. You're the constant. You're what remains when thoughts arise and when thoughts disappear. And here's the beautiful thing. When you recognize this, when you shift your identity from the content of consciousness to consciousness itself, the thoughts don't stop, but they lose their grip. They become like clouds passing through the sky. Sometimes there are many clouds, sometimes few, sometimes none. But the sky doesn't worry about the clouds. The sky doesn't try to push them away or hold them in place. The sky just is, spacious and open, allowing whatever appears to appear and whatever disappears to disappear. This is what it means to have a quiet mind. Not a mind with no thoughts, but a mind you're no longer struggling with. Not a mind you've controlled, but a mind you've stopped trying to control. The paradox is that the mind becomes quiet when you stop trying to make it quiet. The noise settles when you stop resisting the noise, because the resistance is the noise. The struggle is the disturbance. When you stop fighting with your mind, when you stop judging it, managing it, trying to improve it, there's a natural settling. Like a snow globe that's been shaken. You don't make the snow settle. You just stop shaking it and the settling happens by itself. But here's what this requires. It requires you to be willing to have a busy mind, to let the thoughts be there without making them a problem, to allow the mental chatter without needing it to stop. And this feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because you think you want a quiet mind, but wanting a quiet mind is what keeps the mind busy. So instead, you try the opposite. You welcome the busy mind, you say yes to it, you stop fighting it. And in that acceptance, in that allowing, something shifts. The mind is still producing thoughts, but you're no longer caught in them. You're no longer believing that the thoughts are you or that they're telling you the truth about reality. This is what meditation is really about, by the way. It's not about achieving some special state of no thought. It's about changing your relationship with thought. It's about learning to observe thinking without being thinking, to witness the mind without being the mind. You sit there and thoughts arise, thousands of them, and you don't push them away and you don't chase them. You just notice them. Oh, there's a thought about what I'm having for dinner. Oh, there's a thought about what that person said yesterday. Oh, there's a thought judging my meditation. And in the noticing, there's a gap, a space. You're here, aware, watching the thoughts, which means you're not the thoughts, you're what's watching. And the more you practice this, the more you live from this place of awareness rather than from the place of thought, the less the busy mind bothers you. Not because the mind gets less busy, but because you stop identifying with the business. You recognize that you're the space, not the furniture. You are the screen, not the movie. You're the ocean, not the waves. And the waves can be stormy or calm, but the ocean remains the ocean either way. Here's another angle on this. The mind won't shut up because it's trying to figure everything out. It believes that if it just thinks hard enough, long enough, cleverly enough, it will finally understand. It will finally solve the puzzle of existence. It will finally figure out how to be happy, how to be safe, how to be loved, how to be enough. So it keeps thinking, keeps analyzing, keeps trying to find the answer that will finally put all the questions to rest. But the answer isn't in thought. It can't be. Because thought is always about something. It's always pointing at reality, describing reality, interpreting reality. But it's never the reality itself. You can think about an apple all day long, describe it in the most elaborate detail, but you still won't know what an apple tastes like until you bite into it. The taste is direct, immediate, beyond thought, and life is like that. The actual living of it, the immediate experience of being here, being alive, being aware, this isn't something you can think your way into. You can only be it. So the mind keeps chattering because it's trying to do something it's inherently unable to do. It's trying to think its way to a reality that exists before and beyond thinking. And this is why the silence, the gap, the moment of no thought, this is where the real knowing happens. Not intellectual knowing, but direct knowing. The knowing of being, of presence, of what you actually are beneath all the stories and concepts and identifications. And when you touch this, even for a moment, when you rest as pure awareness without any thought, you realize something extraordinary. The mind, with all its noise and business, it was never the problem. It was just doing its job, thinking. The problem was believing you were the mind, taking yourself to be this collection of thoughts and worries and plans and memories. But you're not. You never were. You're the awareness in which all of this appears, the consciousness that lights up every experience, the presence that's here right now, reading these words, aware of being aware. So if your mind won't shut up, stop trying to shut it up. Let it run, let it chatter, let it do its thing, but don't believe it, don't identify with it, don't take it to be you. Just notice it, watch it, be curious about it. Oh, look, mind is doing its anxious routine again. Oh, look, mind is replaying that old story. Oh, look, mind is planning something that probably won't happen. And in the noticing, in the observing, you're already free. Because the one who notices the thought is not the thought. The awareness of thinking is not thinking. You are that awareness. You always have been. And from this place, from this recognition, life becomes much simpler, not because your circumstances change or your mind becomes quieter, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer trying to be different than you are. The mind thinks, the thoughts arise, and you remain as what you've always been. Aware, present, here. The one constant in the midst of all the change. Not thinking about being here, not trying to be more here, just here, already, always, complete.
You know, there's something rather strange that's been happening to you lately. The things that used to light you up don't anymore. That song you played on repeat until your ears bled, now it's just noise. The food you craved tastes like cardboard in your mouth. Even the people you love, the ones whose laughter used to fill your chest with warmth, they feel distant, muted, like you're watching them through glass. And here's what terrifies you most. You're starting to wonder if you've lost the ability to feel anything at all. If something inside you has died and you didn't even notice it dying, but I want to suggest something quite different to you today. What if this numbness isn't death at all? What if it's the most dangerous phase of waking up you'll ever experience? Let me describe it more precisely, because I suspect you know exactly what I'm talking about. You wake up in the morning and there's nothing. No dread. Exactly. No excitement either. Just a kind of gray neutrality that follows you like a shadow. You scroll through your phone looking for something, anything, that might spark that old feeling. A video, a message, a piece of news that matters. Nothing lands. You try your old escapes. Maybe you binge a series you used to love. Maybe you buy something you don't need. Maybe you reach for a drink, a substance, a person. And here's the truly terrifying part. Even when you get what you wanted, even when the thing arrives or the experience happens, there's no payload, no rush, no satisfaction. It's like biting into fruit and tasting only texture. The sweetness is gone, and you start to panic, don't you? You start running through possibilities in your mind. Am I depressed? Is this a chemical imbalance? Did I burn myself out? Am I broken? You might even go to a doctor. Get tested. Try medications. Read articles about dopamine and serotonin, about hedonic adaptation and anhedonia. And maybe some of that helps, or maybe it doesn't. Because what if I told you that what you're experiencing isn't a malfunction at all? What if this loss, this death of the old joy, is actually a birth in disguise? To understand what I mean, we need to look at what we've been calling joy all these years. Because I don't think you've lost joy. I think you've lost something else entirely. Think back to the last time you felt genuinely happy. Really happy. What was happening? Chances are, you weren't just experiencing something pleasant. You were experiencing relief. Relief from hunger when you ate that perfect meal. Relief from loneliness when someone finally texted you back. Relief from boredom when you found that perfect show. Relief from anxiety when the weekend finally arrived. You see, most of what we call pleasure is actually just the cessation of discomfort. It's like this. Imagine you're hitting yourself with a hammer, over and over, and then you stop. The moment you stop feels amazing, doesn't it? Your whole body floods with relief. But that's not happiness. That's just not being hit anymore. This is what the Buddha was pointing at when he said life is dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. Not that life is suffering exactly, but that it's fundamentally unstable, based on lack. We spend our entire lives in this bizarre cycle. Create a problem, solve the problem, feel good for a moment, create another problem. Make yourself hungry so eating feels good. Make yourself lonely so connection feels good. Make yourself bored so entertainment feels good. We've become like addicts who need the withdrawal just to feel the high of the fix. And for most of your life, this worked. This game of scratching itches you created yourself, it was enough. It felt like living. But then something shifted. Maybe it happened slowly. Maybe it happened all at once. But at some point, your consciousness saw through the trick. It's like when you learn how a magic trick works. Once you see the wires, the mirrors, the sleight of hand, you can't unsee them. The magic is broken forever. You can't go back to being fooled. And this is what's happened to you. You've become immune to your own manipulation. The itch you create no longer feels real enough to make the scratch satisfying. The hunger you manufacture doesn't make the food taste better. The loneliness you cultivate doesn't make connection feel profound. You've seen through it. And once you've seen through it, the whole game collapses. This is why nothing brings you joy anymore. Not because you're broken, but because you've outgrown a fundamentally childish way of experiencing life. And right now, you're in withdrawal. Not from drugs or alcohol, but from something far more addictive. You're in withdrawal from experience itself, from the constant stimulation, the peaks and valleys, the drama of your own creation. You're a thrill addict who's been cut off from the supply. And like any addict in withdrawal, you feel like you're dying. You feel hollow, empty, like a ghost walking through a world that's lost its color. You look at people around you who still seem to be enjoying things, and you feel envious, confused. Why can they still feel and I can't? But they're not more alive than you. They're just still asleep, still willing to believe in the game, still able to get high on their own manufactured crises and resolutions. You can't anymore. I knew a woman once, let's call her Maya, who went through this exact thing. She was a musician. Her whole identity was built around the rush of performing, the high of applause, the intoxication of creating something beautiful. And then one day, she sat down at her piano and nothing. No inspiration, no joy, no connection to the instrument that had been her voice for 20 years. She thought she was finished, thought her gift had been taken away. What she didn't realize was that her gift wasn't music. Her gift was the silence underneath the music, and she was finally becoming quiet enough to hear it. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because before you can hear the silence, you have to survive the absence of noise. And I know this feels like death. I know it feels like something precious has been taken from you. But stay with me here, because this is where it gets interesting. Imagine you've spent your entire life in a dimly lit room, a room lit only by candles. And you've been fascinated by the shadows these candles cast on the walls, the dancing shapes, the flickering movements. You've spent years watching these shadows, finding meaning in them, being entertained by them, occasionally frightened by them. They've been your whole world. And then one day, someone opens a window, and sunlight, real sunlight, floods into the room. What happens to the shadows? They vanish. Not because the light went out, but because the light became too bright. The candles are still burning, but you can't see their shadows anymore. They're overwhelmed by something infinitely more luminous. And here's the thing. For the first few moments after that window opens, you might actually think you've gone blind. Because your eyes, so accustomed to the dimness, to the subtle variations of shadow, can't yet process this much light. It's too much, too bright, too intense. So it looks like nothing, like emptiness, like a blank, washed out void. This is where you are right now. The window has opened, the light has come in, and your perception, still calibrated for shadows and candlelight, can't yet see what's here. So it feels like nothing, like absence, like loss. But it's not absence. It's presence so complete, so full, that your current way of seeing can't comprehend it yet. You're not depressed. You're not broken. You're being recalibrated. And the worst thing you can do right now, the absolute worst thing, is try to go back. Try to close the window. Try to relight the candles. Try to manufacture shadows again. I've watched people do this. When the old pleasures stop working, they panic and they try to force it. They seek more extreme experiences, louder music, stronger substances, more dangerous thrills. They jump from relationship to relationship, hobby to hobby, belief system to belief system, desperately trying to feel something, anything. And all this does is delay the inevitable, because you can't go back to sleep once you've woken up. You can pretend. You can exhaust yourself trying. But the innocence is gone. So what do you do instead? Here's what nobody tells you. You stop trying. You stop trying to feel joy. You stop trying to get back what you've lost. You stop trying to fix yourself, because there's nothing to fix. You're like a caterpillar that's dissolved into liquid inside a cocoon, wondering why it can't walk anymore, why it can't eat leaves, why everything that used to define it is gone. You're not a caterpillar anymore, but you're not yet a butterfly. You're just soup, formless, undefined, in between. And this is unbearable for the mind, isn't it? Because the mind wants to know what it is, wants to have an identity, wants to be something. But you're not something right now. You're nothing becoming everything. You have to give up, you see. Not give up on life. Give up on trying. You have to stop trying to feel joy the way you stopped trying to catch smoke. Stop trying to get back to how things were. You understand? There is no back. There's only this formless moment, this soup you've become. And the more you thrash around trying to be something recognizable, the longer you stay liquid. And if you can just be with this, if you can stop fighting it, stop trying to resurrect the corpse of your old way of being, something new emerges. Not the old joy, something quieter, subtler, harder to describe. The old joy was like fireworks, loud, bright, impressive, but brief. This new thing, it's more like the sky itself. It's not an experience. It's the space in which experience happens. It's not a feeling. It's the awareness that feels. Do you see the difference? The old happiness required contrast, required things to be good or bad, pleasurable or painful, exciting or boring. It needed the hammer so it could feel the relief of stopping. But this doesn't need anything. It's already here, already complete. Whether you're eating a gourmet meal or stale bread, it's here. Whether you're in love or alone, it's here. Whether you're succeeding or failing, it's here. I once knew a man who spent his whole life chasing experiences. He traveled to every country, tried every drug, had every kind of relationship. And then, one day, he just stopped. He sat in his garden, doing nothing, for hours at a time. His friends thought he'd given up, thought he was depressed. But when I asked him about it, he said something I've never forgotten. He said, I finally realized I was traveling around the world looking for my house, and then I noticed I was already standing in it. This is what happens on the other side of the emptiness. You stop looking for life and realize you are life. You stop searching for joy and discover you are the space in which joy and sorrow both arise and dissolve. You don't need things to be a certain way anymore. Not because you've given up or become numb, but because you've found something that doesn't depend on circumstances. A kind of okayness. Not happiness, exactly. Not bliss. Just okayness. Everything is fundamentally okay, even when it's not okay. Does that make sense? Probably not. Not yet. Because this isn't something you can understand intellectually. It's something you become. And you can't force it. You can't achieve it through effort. In fact, the more you try to get there, the further away you get. It's like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more awake you become. Just be here. In the grayness, in the flatness, in the void. Without trying to escape it, without trying to fix it, without trying to understand it. Just sit in it like you'd sit in a waiting room. Not enjoying it, not suffering through it. Just waiting. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to get somewhere else, the moment you stop resisting what is, you arrive not at some special state, not at some peak experience. You arrive at reality itself, unfiltered, unmediated, unadorned. And it's enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. See, you haven't lost joy. You've just become too big for the small pleasures that used to contain you. Like a child who grows too tall for their favorite hiding spot. The spot didn't disappear. You just don't fit in it anymore. And yes, that's sad in a way. There's a real grief in this. Grief for the simplicity of the old way, for the innocence that's been lost. But would you really want to go back? Would you really want to shrink yourself down just to fit into that small space again? Or would you rather grow into the vastness that's opening up before you? The choice is yours, of course. You can keep trying to light candles in the sunlight. You can keep manufacturing problems so you can feel the relief of solving them. You can keep chasing the ghost of a happiness that was never really happiness at all. Or you can sit here in this uncomfortable in-between and wait. Wait for your eyes to adjust to the light. Wait for a new way of seeing to emerge. Wait for the butterfly you are becoming to finish forming its wings. It won't look like you thought it would. It won't feel like you expected it to. But it will be real. More real than anything you've experienced before. And here's the final thing nobody tells you. The emptiness you're feeling right now, it's not empty. It never was. You've been calling it numbness, calling it depression, calling it death. But it's none of those things. It's just space. Space that was always there, hidden beneath the noise. Space that was always holding everything. The joy, the sorrow, the hunger, the satisfaction. You are that space. Not the things moving through it. Not the feelings coming and going. The space itself. And space doesn't need anything to be complete. It doesn't need to be filled. It doesn't need to be fixed. It just is. So when you ask, why doesn't anything bring me joy anymore?
There comes a point in every life when the applause fades, when the noise of the crowd grows distant, and you find yourself walking through a silence that feels almost foreign. At first, you might resist it. You may think that something has gone wrong, that you have fallen behind, that you've been forgotten by the world. But perhaps what has really happened is that life has drawn back its curtain so that you may see yourself as you truly are, without the distractions, without the mirrors, without the endless performance of being someone for someone else. You see, for most of our lives, we are surrounded by noise, expectations, judgments, comparisons, and we mistake this noise for meaning. We think that being noticed is the same as being alive. But there comes a moment, and it comes to everyone sooner or later, when the world stops looking at you, when you are left to look at yourself. And in that moment, You are faced with the most extraordinary invitation to discover that your worth was never dependent on an audience at all. We are taught from an early age that validation is a kind of currency, that to be loved is to be seen, and to be seen is to be successful. A child brings home a drawing and looks not at the drawing, but at the parent's face, searching for approval. A student studies not for the joy of learning, but for the grade, for the pat on the back, for the fleeting sense of being enough. And as adults, we continue this pattern without realizing it. We chase recognition, praise, applause. We mistake attention for affection and admiration for understanding. But all of this, though it feels like progress, is a subtle form of dependence. It ties your peace to the whims of others, your sense of value to the ever-shifting moods of the crowd. The tragedy is that in seeking affirmation from others, you lose connection with the quiet, steady affirmation of life itself, the simple fact that you are here, breathing, being, existing. That alone is the original validation. There is something sacred about walking through the fog when no one is beside you and no one is watching. It is in that loneliness that you begin to hear what cannot be heard in the noise of company, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, the quiet pulse of existence that has been speaking to you all along. We spend so much time trying to be understood that we forget to understand ourselves. But it is in solitude that understanding ripens. When there is no one to impress, you start to see yourself clearly. You start to notice the small things, the way your mind moves, the way your heart responds, the way life unfolds around you, even when you are not trying to control it. The silence, which at first seemed empty, begins to feel full of insight, full of presence, full of life. You see, loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the discovery of yourself in the absence of others. It is the universe saying, now, at last, you are ready to meet who you truly are. We treat solitude as a punishment, but it is the first and greatest teacher. When there is no one to depend on, you begin to depend on the stillness within. When there is no one to cheer you on, you discover that the act of moving forward is its own applause. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. The journey is the reward. Every small effort, every unseen victory, every quiet act of persistence, these are the milestones of real growth. They may not earn you applause, but they build something far greater, a quiet strength that no one can give and no one can take away. We've been taught to think of life as a competition, a ladder to climb, a race to win. But this way of thinking creates an endless hunger, a thirst that cannot be quenched. We compare ourselves to others, measure our worth by their approval, and in doing so, we make ourselves miserable. The Buddha called this craving tanha, the thirst that binds us to suffering. And the only way to end it is not by acquiring more approval, but by seeing through the illusion of needing it. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, you begin to live freely. You realize that you were never behind, that you were never lacking. You were simply caught in the trance of comparison. Think for a moment about a flower growing in the forest. It blooms quietly, unseen by anyone, and yet it blooms all the same. It does not question whether it is worthy. It does not demand recognition. It simply fulfills its nature to blossom, to be. And in that simple act, it participates fully in the miracle of existence. The flower does not bloom for the world. It blooms because blooming is what life does through it. You, too, are such a flower. You do not need to be admired to be alive. You do not need to be seen to be real. Life itself is seeing through your eyes, breathing through your lungs, moving through your steps. The universe is aware of you because you are the universe aware of itself. But because we forget this, we go seeking mirrors. We ask others to tell us who we are, what we're worth, whether we're enough. Yet every mirror we find is distorted. People see us not as we are, but as they are. Their opinions reflect their own fears and desires more than our truth. And so, if you live for approval, you will live in distortion. You will twist yourself to fit images that were never yours, and in doing so, you will abandon your authenticity. True freedom comes when you stop needing mirrors, when you realize that you are both the reflection and the light that makes reflection possible. That is the beginning of real maturity, to become your own witness, your own source of affirmation. There is a kind of discipline that grows out of this understanding, but it is not the discipline of force. It is the discipline of love. You rise each day not because you must, but because something in you honors the unfolding of life. You take the next step, not because someone is watching, but because walking itself is sacred. You work, you create, you try, you fail, and you begin again, not because the world demands it, but because that is the rhythm of being alive. To live this way is to be free from both praise and blame. It is to see that success and failure are not opposites, but phases of the same movement, like the crest and trough of a wave. When you fail, you learn. When you learn, you grow. And growth, in its own quiet way, is success. Imagine a potter shaping clay. Each time the bowl collapses, he does not despair. He simply gathers the clay again, softens it, and begins anew. The cracks and imperfections become part of the art. In Japan, they repair broken pottery with gold, a practice called kintsugi, because they understand that the object's history adds to its beauty. Likewise, every time you fall, every time you are unseen or uncelebrated, the gold of experience fills your cracks. You become more whole, not less, more luminous, not dimmer. This is how the universe makes art out of you. The great mistake is to wait for motivation, to believe that we must feel inspired before we act. But motivation is like the weather, it comes and goes without warning. Discipline, on the other hand, is like the sun. It may hide behind clouds, but it never ceases to shine. Real discipline is not about control, it is about trust. It is faith in the process of your own unfolding. Even when you cannot see progress, something within you is maturing, deepening, preparing to bloom again. The tree in winter looks lifeless, but beneath the surface, roots are growing, drawing strength from the earth. So when your life feels quiet, when nothing seems to be happening, know that something essential is taking root. The silence you fear is not the absence of life, it is the presence of everything. Sit quietly, and you'll begin to feel it. The hum of existence, the gentle awareness that watches your thoughts rise and fall like waves. That awareness is who you are. Not the thoughts, not the emotions, but the space in which they appear. Once you see this, you realize that you were never truly alone. Even in solitude, life is with you. You are with you, and that is enough. You may wonder, what about the people who left? What about the ones who didn't see me, who didn't believe in me? But perhaps they were never meant to. Perhaps their absence is part of your awakening, a clearing of the space so that you might meet yourself without distraction. When you are no longer trying to convince anyone of your worth, you begin to live from it. You begin to create from it. You begin to love from it. And that is a power no applause can give you. To be unseen is not to be forgotten. The seed buried in darkness is not neglected. It is becoming. And when the time is right, it breaks the soil, not to prove anything, but because that is its nature. So too with you. You are growing in ways that the world may not yet recognize. You are unfolding according to a rhythm far deeper than public validation. And one day, without fanfare, you will realize that you no longer need to get ahead because you are already ahead. You are not waiting for life to begin. You are living it fully right now. So when you find yourself walking alone, do not despair. Do not rush to escape the quiet. Sit with it. Listen. The silence is speaking. It is saying, you are already home. There comes a time when you realize that being unseen has given you the greatest gift of all, space. The space to listen, to breathe, to exist without performing. Most people live their entire lives afraid of that space. They fill it with noise, with work, with chatter, with distractions. They keep the television on, the phone buzzing, the mind spinning anything to avoid being left alone with themselves. But it is only in that aloneness that something begins to awaken. Because the silence you fear is not emptiness. It is fullness so vast that your little identity trembles before it. When you stop running from it, you begin to see that everything you were looking for in the eyes of others has been looking out through your eyes all along. You see, the entire problem of loneliness is based on a misunderstanding. You think you are a fragment cut off from the rest of the world, and so you seek connection, attention, affirmation, as if these were bridges that could return you to the whole. But you were never separate in the first place. You are like a wave asking the ocean where the water went. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought arises from the same field of being that moves the stars. When you understand this, the idea that you are alone becomes as absurd as the idea of a sunbeam being separate from the sun. You were never disconnected, you simply forgot the truth of your belonging. The irony of striving is that the harder you chase connection, the further you drift from it. You cannot grasp what you already are. The more you reach for validation, the more you affirm the illusion of incompleteness. But when you relax, when you surrender, when you stop trying to prove yourself, a remarkable thing happens. Life begins to hold you again. It's as if existence was waiting for you to stop struggling so it could show you that you were never unsupported. The Taoists call this Wu Wei, effortless action. It is not laziness but harmony. It is the art of moving with life rather than against it. When you learn to live this way, even the most ordinary moments shimmer with quiet perfection. Washing dishes, walking in the rain, sitting in stillness, all become sacred because you are fully there. Most people think that freedom is something to be earned, that they must struggle for it, plan for it, fight for it. But freedom is the natural state of being once you stop pretending to be what you are not. You cannot manufacture freedom any more than you can manufacture the sky. You simply remove the clouds that hide it. Those clouds are made of fear, doubt, comparison, and the need for control. And when you stop feeding them, they dissolve on their own. Then, without effort, the vastness of who you are shines through. That vastness is not something you become, it is something you remember. Think of how a musician learns an instrument. At first, there is tension, effort, striving. Every movement feels clumsy. But over time, the musician relaxes into the rhythm. The fingers know what to do without thought. The music plays itself. That is what life is like when you stop trying to control it. You stop thinking about living and start living. You stop forcing and start flowing. The universe has been composing through you all along. It only needed you to stop interrupting the melody. To get ahead, then, is not to outpace others, but to outgrow your illusions. It is to see that progress is not measured by how many people see your work or applaud your journey, but by how deeply you inhabit your own being. The true success of a life is not in its visibility, but in its authenticity. The great tree in the forest grows tall, not because it competes with others, but because it follows its own light. It drinks deeply of the soil and rises effortlessly toward the sun. It doesn't ask the nearby trees for permission. It doesn't compare its leaves. It simply grows, and in that quiet growth, it fulfills its purpose. And what is your purpose? It is to be what you already are, to live this life as fully and as honestly as you can. to bring awareness to whatever is before you, whether that's joy or sorrow, gain or loss, company or solitude. You do not need a grand destiny, you need presence. Presence is life itself, paying attention through you. When you are present, even the smallest act becomes magnificent. Drinking water becomes communion, listening to the wind becomes prayer. Existence stops being a means to an end and becomes the end itself. Many people say they want peace, but what they really want is a peaceful version of control. They want the world to go their way so they can relax. But true peace doesn't depend on conditions. It arises when you stop resisting what is, when you stop demanding that the world reflect your preferences. You begin to see that life has always been perfect in its imperfection. You were never meant to manage existence, only to participate in it. When you let go of control, life begins to feel effortless. And in that effortlessness, you finally discover the very ease you were chasing all along. There will be days when the fog returns, when the path seems unclear, when doubt whispers that you are wasting your time. On those days, remember this: the fog is not an obstacle, it is the path itself. It teaches you to walk by feel, to trust the unseen, to listen for the quiet guidance that is always there beneath the noise. Every step through uncertainty strengthens your connection to something larger than thought. It teaches you faith, not the kind that clings to belief, but the kind that rests in knowing. You begin to trust the rhythm of your own becoming, even when you cannot see where it leads. Do not be afraid of being misunderstood. The deeper your understanding, the fewer people will understand you. This is not isolation, it is evolution. The higher the mountain, the thinner the air. You are meant to breathe that clarity, even if others cannot join you there. Do not descend for comfort. Rise for truth. And when the world seems to move past you, remember that stillness moves in its own way. The seed underground looks dormant, yet it is transforming. The caterpillar inside its cocoon appears lifeless, yet it is being remade. Trust your hidden seasons. The silence is not punishment, it is preparation. And when recognition finally comes, as it often does, you will smile because you no longer need it. Praise will feel like an echo of something you already knew. You will understand that the real reward was not being seen but learning to see, not being loved but becoming love, not being successful but being free. The applause, the achievements, the acknowledgement, all of them will seem small compared to the vastness of the peace you found within. So walk forward, even when no one walks with you, even when no one claps or calls your name. Walk because walking is your nature. Rise because rising is what waves do. Move not because the world demands it, but because life itself moves through you. You are not behind. You were never left out. You are part of a great unfolding, and your role is to let it unfold through you in its own time, in its own rhythm. And when doubt creeps in, remember this simple truth. The eyes of existence are already upon you. The universe is looking through your face, breathing through your lungs, living through your heart. You were never separate, never unseen. You have always been enough. The fog was never there to hide you. It was there to reveal you. When the mist clears, you will find that what you were searching for was not waiting at the top of some mountain, but shining quietly within you all along. Because the moment you stop waiting to be seen is the moment you begin to see. And in that seeing, life begins again. It is a curious thing, this tendency we all share, the urge to hold on to people, to hold on to ideas, to hold on to the stories we tell about who we are and what the world is. We clutch at memories of the past, as though replaying them might somehow make them last forever. We grip tightly at visions of the future, as if our grasp could bend time to obey our plans. And yet, in all this holding, we discover a strange weight. Instead of safety, it gives us a kind of suffocation. Instead of comfort, it makes us anxious, always fearing the moment when our grip might slip. Why do we hold on so desperately? it is because we have been taught that to let go is to lose. If I let go of this relationship, I will be abandoned. If I let go of this belief, I will be adrift. If I let go of control, everything will fall apart. And so, with clenched fists, we drag the baggage of yesterday into today and try to pack tomorrow into the same suitcase until we are exhausted under the sheer weight of it. But life, you see, is not meant to be carried like this. Life is a river, not a stone. It moves, it flows, it shifts. And when we try to grasp the current, we only end up with water slipping through our fingers. The tighter we hold, the more we realize we cannot truly hold at all. Consider for a moment the simple act of breathing. You breathe in, and then you must breathe out. If you try to only inhale, clinging to the air as though to lose it would mean to lose your life, you will suffocate. The very act of living requires release. It requires the rhythm of in and out, of taking and giving, of holding and letting go. And yet, when it comes to our attachments, we try to live as though we can only inhale, never exhale. The result is the same suffocation, but this time in our minds and our hearts. Look also at nature's trees. Each autumn, they shed their leaves, releasing what no longer serves them. They do not argue with the season. They do not cling to what has had its time. And because they let go, they are renewed. Spring comes and new leaves burst forth. Imagine if the tree resisted. Imagine if it gripped every leaf in panic, crying, "I cannot let this one go. It is mine. It defines me." What would happen? The tree would rot, unable to grow, unable to flourish. It is only in release that life finds its rhythm. But we, unlike the tree, tell ourselves stories. We imagine that if we let go, we will fall into emptiness. We imagine we are separate little beings standing against the tide of existence, and that if we do not hold on, the tide will wash us away. And so we resist, and we resist until the struggle becomes unbearable. Think of how we hold on to relationships that have already ended in spirit, afraid of the silence that might follow. We hold on to old identities. I am this kind of person. I cannot change. I must always live this way, even when the skin has grown too tight, like clothes from childhood that no longer fit. We hold on to resentments, to grievances, to past mistakes, dragging them behind us like heavy stones, all the while wondering why we feel so tired. But the truth is, letting go is not the opposite of love, nor the opposite of care. To let go is not to reject. It is to recognize the natural movement of things, just as waves rise and fall, just as days begin and end, just as lives appear and dissolve. So too does every form, every moment, follow the rhythm of arising and passing. To resist this rhythm is to resist life itself. It is like trying to stop a river with your hands. You may feel, for a brief instant, that you are succeeding, but soon the current pushes past, stronger than your grip, indifferent to your effort. And then you are left exhausted while the river flows on. But why do we resist so fiercely? Because we mistake holding for control. We believe that if we grip tightly enough, we can preserve what we love, secure what we fear to lose, or shape the future to our design. And yet, have you noticed? The things we cling to most fiercely are often the very ones that slip away. Think of the lover smothered by another's insecurity, who leaves not because of lack of love, but because they cannot breathe under the grip. Think of the person so obsessed with controlling every detail of their life that they leave no room for surprise, no room for spontaneity, and so they find themselves trapped in the very order they desired. Think of the one who cannot release the memory of a wound, and so carries it, reliving the pain again and again, as though it were happening now. In all of this, The fear of letting go is the fear of death in miniature. For to let go is to allow something to end, to allow a moment to pass, a form to dissolve, a self to change. And because we fear the great death, the dissolution of our own body, our own ego, we fear all the little deaths along the way. We imagine that by holding on, we can resist the great tide, keep ourselves intact, but in truth, it is the clinging that breaks us. You may notice this in the smallest of things. Try to hold water in a tight fist, and it escapes. Hold it gently, with an open palm, and it rests with you for a while. Try to clutch at love, and it suffocates. Let it breathe, and it grows. Try to force your life into rigid certainty, and it rebels. Allow it to flow, and it carries you further than you could have planned. So the problem is not that life takes things away. The problem is that we refuse to see that life is always taking and giving, always flowing, always changing. To demand permanence in a world of movement is to fight against the very essence of what is. The suffering of holding on is not only in the loss itself, but in the constant tension, the vigilance, the anxiety of guarding what cannot be guarded. Like a man clutching a rope that is fraying in his hands, we exhaust ourselves trying to prevent the inevitable. And in doing so, we miss the beauty of what is still here, still alive, still present. And so, you may notice, fear grows not from reality itself, but from the stories we weave. If I let this go, I will be nothing. If I release control, life will collapse. These are shadows of thought, not truths. For in fact, you are already letting go in every moment. You let go of each breath, or you would die. You let go of each moment, or time would freeze. You let go of sleep each morning, or the day could never begin. Letting go is already the rhythm of your being. You cannot resist it forever. You can only blind yourself to it. The great paradox is that by clinging, you do not preserve life, you smother it. By resisting change, you do not secure safety, you create fear. By holding on, you do not keep things as they are, you hasten their decay. And so, we must see clearly, the fear of letting go is born from an illusion, the illusion that we are separate from the flow, that life is something happening to us rather than as us. But once you see that you are the river itself, the need to clutch at each drop begins to fade. The beginning of wisdom is to see the cost of holding on, to see that it is not safety, but weight, not love, but suffocation, not freedom, but prison. Only when this is seen can the heart begin to loosen its grip. And so, as you sit here listening, perhaps you can feel in your own life what it is you are clutching. Perhaps a person, perhaps a story, perhaps an image of yourself. Feel the tension of it, the way it weighs upon you. Notice that it is not the thing itself that weighs you down, but the clinging. And see, if only for a moment, that there may be another way. If holding on binds us in tension, then letting go is the beginning of freedom. Yet, many hear this and immediately recoil. If I let go, won't I lose everything? Won't life spin into chaos? Won't I fall into nothingness? But you see, this is the illusion. For letting go does not mean falling into emptiness, it means falling into life. It means aligning yourself with the rhythm that has been carrying you all along. Think again of breathing. You let go of the breath not to die, but to live. The release makes room for the next inhalation, the next renewal. Imagine if you refuse to exhale, clinging desperately to the air as though your survival depended upon it. You would suffocate. The irony is clear. You live because you let go, again and again. This rhythm of release is everywhere. The trees let go of their leaves so that new growth may appear. The snake sheds its skin, or else it cannot expand. The earth itself shifts, quakes, moves, so that new mountains may rise, new valleys may form. To let go is not a failure of life, but its very condition. Now, notice what happens in you when you release. Perhaps you have experienced it already. You cling to some resentment, some injury from the past. You replay it, you nurse it, you rehearse the words you should have said, and then, one day, perhaps out of exhaustion, you let it go. And what do you feel? Relief, lightness. The world, unchanged in its outer form, suddenly appears brighter. The sky seems wider, the air easier to breathe. Nothing has changed but the grip of your hand, and in that small gesture, everything is transformed. So letting go is not loss, but transformation. It is not the end of love, but the beginning of freedom within love. For when you hold someone too tightly, you do not love them, you possess them. And possession strangles. To love is to let another be, to allow them the freedom of their own movement, their own becoming. And when you grant this, you discover something extraordinary, that love does not vanish when released. It grows, it deepens, it breathes. Letting go of control is much the same. You may imagine that unless you manage every detail, life will collapse into disorder. But in truth, life is already happening without your command. Your heart beats without your orders, your cells divide, your blood flows, your breath moves, the earth spins, the stars burn, all without your intervention. Control is a story, a game we play with ourselves. Life does not wait for your instructions. So what happens when you release this compulsion to control? At first, fear, because the ego imagines it is the master, and to surrender is to die. But beneath that fear is a discovery that life carries you more gracefully than you could ever carry yourself. Like a swimmer who finally stops thrashing and allows the water to hold them, you realize you are buoyant. You do not sink into chaos. You float into harmony. Now, letting go does not mean apathy. It does not mean turning your back on life or abandoning care. It means participating without clinging, engaging without grasping. It is like dancing with a partner. If you clutch at them, the dance is stiff and awkward. If you collapse and refuse to move, the dance cannot happen at all. But if you allow, give and take, guiding and yielding, the dance becomes alive, spontaneous, free. So it is with life. You are not to be a puppet, dragged helplessly, nor are you to be a tyrant, forcing every step. You are to be a dancer, moving with the rhythm, listening, responding, trusting. This is what the Chinese call Wu Wei, not forcing, not straining, but moving with the grain of the universe. Now, one of the greatest fears in letting go is the fear of death. We cling to life, imagining that if we grip hard enough, we can stave off the inevitable. But death is not the enemy. Death is the great letting go, and without it, life would not be. Just as sleep is necessary to renew the body, so death renews the cycle of existence. The leaf falls, but the tree lives on. The wave dissolves, but the ocean remains. And so, when you let go in small ways of a thought, of a grievance, of a fear, you are practicing the art of dying. You are rehearsing the great surrender that will one day come to us all. And in practicing it, you discover that death is not destruction, but renewal. What falls away makes room for what is to come. Even time itself teaches this. You cannot cling to a single moment. Try as you may to preserve it, the moment passes. The laughter fades, the embrace ends, the sunset gives way to night. And yet, this is not a tragedy, for the very passing makes room for what is next. If the day did not end, the night could not begin. If the note did not fade, the song could not continue. Life is not in the holding of one instant, but in the continuous flow from one to another. So, letting go is not abandonment. It is participation in the rhythm of existence. It is to see that you are not separate from the flow, standing against it, but the flow itself. You are not the hand clutching at the river. You are the river. And once this is seen, the fear begins to loosen. Now, notice in your own life where this might be so. Perhaps there is a person you cannot release, even though the time has passed. Perhaps there is a version of yourself you cling to, though it no longer fits. Perhaps there is a fear you rehearse endlessly, as if preparing for it could prevent it. And see, just for a moment, what it would feel like to open your hand, not to push it away, not to destroy it, but simply to release. Feel the lightness in that image, the freedom. This is the invitation of letting go. And here is the curious thing. When you let go, what is real does not vanish. Love remains, but it is free. The self remains, but it is flexible. Life remains, but it is lighter. What vanishes is the tension, the anxiety, the weight of clutching at shadows. You lose nothing but your chains. So the practice of letting go is not about throwing life away, but about finally receiving it. For as long as your hands are clenched, they cannot receive. Only the open hand can be filled. Only the relaxed heart can feel joy. Only the surrendered mind can discover peace. This is why the sages and mystics, again and again, spoke of surrender, not as defeat, but as liberation, not as loss, but as gain. To surrender is to see that you were never in control to begin with, and that this is not bad news, but the best news possible. For it means you are carried, sustained, supported by something far greater than the little I you believed yourself to be. So when you are afraid of letting go, remember this: you have been letting go all along. Each breath, each moment, each night's sleep, you have already practiced surrender countless times, and each time, life has continued. The fear is a story, not a reality. And when you release even a little, you discover the great secret. Life holds you. The ocean does not drop its waves. The sky does not abandon its clouds. The earth does not reject its children. You belong always. And letting go is the way you remember it. So let yourself soften. Let yourself breathe. Let the clenched fist open. The guarded heart relax. The worried mind fall silent. You will not fall into nothingness. You will fall into everything. For letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of freedom.
You know, there's something quite extraordinary about the way we construct our sense of self. From the moment we begin to develop self-awareness as children, we start telling ourselves stories about who we are. And these stories, these narratives about our identity, become so deeply embedded, so thoroughly believed, that we never think to question them. We take them as absolute truth, as unchangeable facts about our nature. But here's what I want to suggest to you today. The most fundamental stories you tell yourself about who you are, the bedrock assumptions upon which you've built your entire sense of identity, are lies. Not malicious lies, not deliberate deceptions, but profound misunderstandings about the nature of your being. And these three lies, these three fundamental illusions, keep you trapped in patterns of suffering, limitation, and endless seeking. The extraordinary thing is that everyone believes these same three lies. They're universal delusions, passed down through culture, reinforced by society, embedded in language itself. And until you see through them, until you recognize them as the fictions they are, you remain imprisoned by them, living a life that's fundamentally based on falsehood. So let me tell you about these three lies. And as I describe them, I want you to watch your own reaction. Because the ego, the false self that's built on these lies, will immediately try to defend them. It will say, no, these aren't lies, this is just how things are. This is reality. And that defensive reaction is itself evidence of how deeply these lies have been believed. The first lie, and this is the foundation upon which the other two rest, is the lie that you are separate, that you are an isolated entity, a separate self, fundamentally divided from everything else that exists. You believe you are in here, behind your eyes, inside your skin, and the world is out there, separate from you, something you observe and interact with but are fundamentally apart from. Now, on the surface, this seems obvious, doesn't it? Of course you're separate. You have your own body, your own thoughts, your own experiences. When you feel pain, others don't feel it. When you think, others don't hear your thoughts. The boundary of your skin seems to clearly mark where you end and not you begins. How could this possibly be a lie? But let me ask you something. Where exactly do you end and the rest of the universe begins? You might say at your skin, but your skin is constantly exchanging molecules with the air. You're breathing in oxygen that was produced by trees, breathing out carbon dioxide that trees will use. The atoms in your body right now were once part of stars, part of the earth, part of countless other organisms. The food you ate yesterday is literally becoming you today. The bacteria in your gut, without which you couldn't survive, are they part of you or separate from you? You see, the boundary is completely arbitrary. It's a convention, a useful fiction, but not an actual division in reality. You are not a separate thing interacting with the universe. You are what the entire universe is doing at the point called here and now. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, but is the ocean waving, you are not separate from existence, but are existence expressing itself in this particular form, at this particular location, in this particular moment. But we've been conditioned from the earliest age to believe in separation. We're given a name, and we start to identify with that name as if it's what we are. We're told you and me and them, and language itself reinforces the illusion of separation with every sentence. We're taught to see ourselves as separate individuals, competing with other separate individuals for resources, for success, for love, for survival. And this lie of separation is the root of almost all suffering. Because when you believe you're separate, you're constantly defending your territory, protecting your interests, trying to get what you need from a world that seems foreign to you. You experience loneliness because you believe you're genuinely isolated. You experience fear because you're vulnerable, a small separate thing in a vast universe that doesn't care about you. You experience alienation because you never quite feel at home in a world you think you're separate from. But the moment you see through this lie, everything changes. Not because you gain something new, but because you lose an old delusion. You realize you've never been separate. You've never been alone. You've never been isolated. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are existence knowing itself. The division was imaginary. The separation was a story. And without that story, what remains is a sense of profound connection, of being at home everywhere, of belonging to everything. Now, the second lie builds directly on the first. This is the lie that you are consistent, that there's a continuous, unchanging you that persists through time. You believe there's a stable self, a constant identity that was there when you were 5 years old, is here now, and will be there when you're 80. You think of yourself as a thing, a noun, an entity that endures through all the changes of life. But is this actually true? Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? Are your thoughts the same? Your beliefs? Your body? Every cell in your body has been replaced multiple times over. Your opinions have changed. Your preferences have evolved. Your memories of your past have been rewritten countless times. So where is this continuous self? What you call yourself is actually a process, not a thing. It's a verb, not a noun. You are not a being, you are being. You're not a self, you're selfing. There's a continuous flow of experience, of sensation, of thought, of feeling, but there's no solid, unchanging entity having these experiences. There's just the experiencing itself. Think about it this way. When you look at a river, you give it a name. You call it the Mississippi or the Thames or the Ganges. But is it really the same river from moment to moment? The water that's flowing past you now will be miles away in an hour. New water is constantly flowing in. The river is never the same from one moment to the next. And yet we speak of it as if it's a single, continuous thing. You are like that river. You're a flowing process of thoughts, sensations, experiences, constantly changing, never the same from moment to moment. But you've been taught to think of yourself as a thing, as a solid entity, as a consistent self. And this lie creates enormous problems, because when you believe you're a fixed self, you become attached to particular ideas about who you are. You say, I am this kind of person. I am not that kind of person. And these definitions become a prison. You can't change, can't grow, can't become something new, because that would threaten your sense of identity. You have to defend who you think you are against any evidence that contradicts it. Moreover, this lie creates the illusion that you're in control of yourself. You think there's a you, a central controller, a captain of the ship, making decisions and running the show. But if you observe carefully, you'll notice that thoughts arise on their own. Feelings happen. Decisions emerge from conditions you didn't choose. There is no separate controller. There's just the process happening. And then thought comes in afterward and claims credit for it, saying, I did that, I thought that, I decided that. When you see through this second lie, when you recognize that you're a process rather than a thing, there's an incredible freedom. You're no longer trapped by outdated ideas about who you are. You're no longer burdened by the need to defend a consistent self-image. You're free to change, to flow, to be different in different circumstances. You realize you're not playing a fixed character in the drama of life. You're the drama itself, constantly improvising, constantly new. And now we come to the third lie, and this one is perhaps the most insidious. This is the lie that you are inadequate, that there's something wrong with you, that you need to become someone or something other than what you are, to be acceptable, to be worthy, to be complete. This lie is woven into the very fabric of our civilization. From the moment you're born, you're being measured, evaluated, judged. Are you developing properly? Are you meeting the milestones? Are you good enough? Smart enough? Attractive enough? Successful enough? The message is constant and clear. As you are right now, you're not quite right. You need to improve, to achieve, to become better. The entire economy runs on this lie. Advertising works by creating a sense of lack. You're not attractive enough, but buy this product and you will be. You're not successful enough, but get this degree, this job, this house, and you will be. You're not happy enough, but consume this experience, this substance, this entertainment, and you will be. The underlying message is always the same. You're not okay as you are, but if you do this or acquire that, then you'll finally be acceptable. Religion often reinforces this lie in different clothing. You're a sinner, you're fallen, you're separate from the divine, but if you follow these rules, perform these rituals, believe these doctrines, then you might become worthy. Even much of what passes for spirituality today is based on this same lie. You're not enlightened, you're not awakened, you're not conscious enough. But if you meditate enough, practice enough, purify enough, then you might finally become what you should be. But here's the truth that nobody wants you to know. You are already complete. You are already whole. There is nothing wrong with you. There never has been. The sense of inadequacy, the feeling that something is missing, the belief that you need to become something other than what you are, this is the lie. It's a fiction that's been implanted in you by a society that needs you to feel inadequate, so you'll keep striving, keep consuming, keep chasing. Now, I can already hear the objection. You might say, but I do have problems. I do have issues I need to work on. I do need to grow and improve. How can you say there's nothing wrong with me? And this is where we have to be very careful to understand what I'm actually saying. I'm not saying you can't learn new skills. I'm not saying you shouldn't address harmful behaviors. I'm not saying growth and development don't happen. What I'm saying is that at the fundamental level of your being, at the core of what you actually are, there is no inadequacy. The sense that you're fundamentally flawed, that at your core you're not good enough, this is the lie. You are an expression of existence itself. You are what the universe is doing right here, right now. And existence doesn't make mistakes. A tree doesn't worry that it's not a good enough tree. A river doesn't feel inadequate about its flowing. A bird doesn't doubt its worth. They simply are what they are, completely, fully, without self-consciousness or self-doubt. But human beings have developed this peculiar capacity for self-reflection, and we've used it to create an idea of what we should be, and then we've compared our actual experience to this idea, and we found ourselves wanting. We've created an ideal self, a perfect version we think we should be, and then we've felt bad about not being that. But the ideal is imaginary. It's a concept. It's not real. What's real is what you actually are in this moment. And what you actually are is the universe experiencing itself in human form. You are existence knowing itself. You are life living itself. And that is already completely sufficient, completely whole, completely acceptable. Not because you've achieved something, not because you've earned it, but because that's simply what is. When you see through this third lie, when you recognize that the sense of inadequacy is just a story you've been told and have believed, something remarkable happens. You stop the endless striving to become acceptable. You stop postponing your okayness until some future achievement. You recognize that you're already it. You've always been it. You couldn't be anything else. And paradoxically, when you stop trying to improve yourself to become acceptable, when you stop operating from a fundamental sense of lack, that's when real growth becomes possible. Not growth driven by fear and inadequacy, but growth that happens naturally, organically, like a plant growing toward the sun. Not because the seed is inadequate, but because growth is what life does. Now, here's what's important to understand about these three lives. They're interconnected. They support each other. The lie of separation makes you feel isolated and vulnerable. The lie of being a fixed self makes you rigid and defensive. The lie of inadequacy makes you constantly chase after something you think you lack. Together, they create a false sense of identity, what we might call the ego, that's constantly struggling, constantly defending, constantly seeking. And this false self, this ego, built on lies, consumes enormous amounts of energy. It requires constant maintenance, constant reinforcement, constant protection. You have to defend your separateness, maintain your self-image, prove your adequacy. It's exhausting. It's like trying to dam a river. The natural flow of life is wholeness, change, and completeness. But you're constantly expending energy to maintain the illusions of separation, fixity, and lack. But you can't simply decide to stop believing these lies. The ego can't enlighten itself. The false self can't see through its own falsehood. What's required is a different kind of seeing, a shift in awareness that happens not through effort but through relaxation, not through becoming but through recognizing what already is. This is why all the great spiritual traditions, beneath their different forms and languages, point at the same thing. They're all inviting you to see through these fundamental lies. The Buddhist talks about the illusion of the separate self. The Hindu speaks of recognizing your identity with Brahman, with all that is. The Taoist describes flowing with the way things are rather than fighting against life. Jesus spoke of dying to be reborn, of losing your life to find it. They're all pointing at the same recognition. These stories you've believed about yourself, these fundamental assumptions about your nature are not true. And when these lies are seen through, when these illusions dissolve, what remains? Not nothing, not some void or blank emptiness. What remains is what was always there beneath the lies. Simple presence, pure awareness, being itself. You don't become something special. You recognize what you've always been. You don't achieve some extraordinary state. You wake up to the ordinary reality that was hidden by extraordinary delusions. Let me be very practical about this. How do these lies operate in your daily life, and how does seeing through them change your experience? Take the lie of separation. When you believe you're separate, every interaction is a transaction between isolated entities. Relationships become negotiations. You're trying to get what you need from others while protecting yourself from being hurt. There's always this subtle guardedness, this sense of being on one side of a boundary while everyone else is on the other side. But when you see through the lie of separation, relationships transform. You recognize that you're meeting yourself in different forms. The boundary between self and other becomes transparent. There's still the appearance of separateness, still different bodies and personalities, but there's an underlying recognition of unity. Compassion becomes natural because hurting another is recognized as hurting yourself. Love stops being about getting something from someone and becomes about recognizing what you share. Consider the lie of being a fixed self. When you believe you're a consistent, unchanging entity, you become rigid. You have to defend your self-image, your reputation, your identity. If someone criticizes you, it threatens who you think you are. If circumstances change, you resist because it threatens your stability. You're constantly trying to control life to protect this imaginary stable self. But when you see through this lie, there's incredible flexibility. You can be different in different situations without feeling like you're being false. You can change your mind without feeling like you're betraying yourself. You can accept criticism without it devastating you because you're not identified with a fixed self that could be damaged. You become like water, taking the shape of whatever container you're in, yet always remaining essentially water. And the lie of inadequacy, this one affects every aspect of your life. When you believe you're fundamentally lacking, you're always striving, always seeking, always trying to fill the void. You pursue achievements hoping they'll make you feel worthy. You chase experiences hoping they'll make you feel fulfilled. You seek approval from others hoping it will validate your existence. But nothing ever quite works because you're trying to fill an imaginary hole. When you see through this lie, the striving stops. Not because you become lazy or passive, but because the desperate quality drops away. You still take action, still have preferences, still pursue things, but not from a place of lack. There's a sense of already being fulfilled, and actions arise from that fullness rather than from trying to fill an emptiness. Life becomes play rather than struggle. Now I want to address something important. You might be listening to all this and thinking, okay, I understand intellectually, I can see how these might be lies, but I still experience myself as separate, as a continuous self, as inadequate. How do I stop believing these lies? And this is the crucial point. You can't stop believing them through an act of will. You can't think your way out of these lies. Intellectual understanding is not the same as seeing through the illusion. It's like someone describing to you that the earth is round when you're standing on flat ground. You might accept it intellectually, but your direct experience still shows you flatness. What's needed is a different kind of looking. Not thinking about these things, but observing directly. Not believing new ideas about yourself, but questioning the old ones. Not trying to become awakened, but investigating whether you're already awake and just haven't noticed. Start with the simplest observation. Right now, in this moment, are you actually experiencing separation, or are you experiencing a unified field of awareness in which thoughts, sensations, and perceptions appear? Don't think about it. Just look. Is there actually a separate you experiencing these things, or is there just experiencing happening? Look at this thing you call yourself. Can you actually find it? Where is it? Is it your body, but your body is constantly changing? Is it your thoughts, but thoughts come and go? Is it your memories, but memories are constantly being revised? What is this self you're so sure exists as a continuous entity? And this sense of inadequacy, where does it come from? Is it actually in your direct experience right now? Or is it a thought about yourself, a story you're telling, a comparison you're making? When you're fully absorbed in something, when you're completely present, is there any sense of inadequacy, or does that only appear when you step back and start evaluating yourself? This investigation is not about reaching a conclusion. It's about looking so directly at your experience that the lies become obvious. It's like looking at an optical illusion. Once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. You might still see the illusion, but you're no longer fooled by it. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to figure all this out. You don't have to become someone who has seen through the lies. The seeing happens on its own when the conditions are right. Your job is not to achieve some state of enlightenment. Your job is to stop reinforcing the lies, to stop compulsively thinking thoughts that maintain the illusion of separation, fixity, and inadequacy. Every time you notice yourself defending your separate identity, pause. Every time you catch yourself trying to maintain a consistent self-image, pause. Every time you feel that fundamental sense of not being enough, pause. Don't try to change anything. Just notice. Just see what's actually happening. Because the lies are maintained by unconsciousness. They persist because you believe them without questioning. But the moment you bring awareness to them, the moment you actually look directly at the assumption rather than through it, something shifts. Not because you've done something, but because light has been shone on what was hidden in darkness. This is why all the great spiritual teachings emphasize presence, awareness, consciousness. Not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. You are already aware. You are already conscious. You are already present. But you've been so focused on the content of awareness, so caught up in the story, that you've forgotten the awareness itself. And awareness is what you actually are. Not the objects of awareness, not the thoughts and feelings and sensations, but the awareness in which all of these appear. And awareness is not separate. It's not a fixed thing. It's not inadequate. These qualities belong to the objects appearing in awareness, not to awareness itself. When you rest as awareness rather than as the character in the story, the three lies are seen through naturally. There's no separation because awareness is the space in which everything appears. There's no fixed self because awareness is not a thing but the capacity for things to appear. There's no inadequacy because awareness lacks nothing. It's already the fullness in which everything exists. I want to be very clear. I'm not asking you to believe any of this. Don't take my word for it. Don't make this into a new set of beliefs to replace the old ones. That would just be substituting one lie for another. Instead, investigate. Look at your own experience. Question the assumptions you've been operating under your entire life. The three lies everyone believes about themselves, separation, fixity, and inadequacy, are not your personal failing. They're part of the human condition. They're built into the structure of thought and language. Everyone is subject to them until they're seen through, so there's no blame, no fault. There's simply the possibility of waking up from the dream, of seeing through the story, of recognizing what you've always been beneath the layers of belief. And when that recognition happens, life doesn't stop. You don't float off into some detached state. The person continues, the body continues, the mind continues. But the identification shifts. You're no longer imprisoned by the false sense of self. You're free to be human without believing you're only human. Free to have an identity without being trapped by it. Free to engage with life without the desperate quality that comes from believing you're inadequate. This is the liberation that's available to every human being. Not some special state for special people. Simply the recognition of what's always been true, hidden beneath the... It's a strange game we play. We spend our lives trying to repair ourselves, as if we were somehow damaged. Forever polishing the mask we show the world. And yet, if you look closely at the great figures of history, the ones who actually changed things, who actually lived, you'll notice something peculiar. They were all cracked, every single one of them. Broken in some way. And it wasn't despite their brokenness that they became who they were. It was because of it. Now, this goes against everything we've been taught, doesn't it? We're told to hide our wounds, to cover our scars, to pretend that we have it all together. But what if I told you that your very brokenness, the thing you're most ashamed of, is precisely what the universe needs from you? What if the crack in your character is not a flaw, but a feature? Let me be very clear about something from the start. When I say damaged, I'm not talking about someone who is careless or irresponsible, or who uses their pain as an excuse. No. I'm talking about the person who has been to the edge, who has looked into the darkness of their own soul and come back trembling. I'm talking about the person who knows, really knows, that they are not self-sufficient, that they cannot do this thing called life on their own. These are the people the universe chooses, not because they are weak, but because they are awake.
You see, the universe has no use for the self-made man. That fellow who struts around, believing he pulled himself up by his own bootstraps, who thinks his success is entirely his own doing, he's a closed system. There's no space for anything greater to work through him, because he's already filled to the brim with himself. But the damaged person, the broken one, they have cracks, and through those cracks, light gets in. Think about water for a moment. If you have a perfectly sealed container, water cannot enter. But if there's a crack, the tiniest opening, water finds its way in. It seeps through. It fills the space. This is how grace works. This is how the power of existence itself works. It cannot enter where there is no opening. And damage creates openings. Now I want you to understand something very important here. Being damaged is not the same as being destroyed. A cup with a crack can still hold water. A window with a chip can still let in light. In fact, sometimes that chip creates the most beautiful patterns when the sun hits it just right. Your damage is like this. It doesn't disqualify you from being used by life. It qualifies you. Look at the great spiritual figures throughout history. Moses, they say, had a speech impediment. He could barely talk, and yet he was chosen to be the voice of God to his people. How absurd is that? The universe picks a man who cannot speak properly to deliver the most important message in history. Why? Because Moses knew he couldn't do it alone. He knew he needed help. He knew he was insufficient. And in that knowing, he became a perfect vessel. Or consider David, a small shepherd boy overlooked by his own family, considered too young, too weak, too insignificant. And yet it was precisely this David, this damaged goods in the eyes of society, who became the great king. Because David never forgot where he came from. He never forgot his smallness. Even when he wore a crown, he remembered he was just a shepherd boy who the universe had picked up and used. The pattern is everywhere once you start looking for it. Paul, the great apostle, was a murderer. He hunted down and killed the very people whose cause he would later champion. Can you imagine the weight of that? The knowledge that you destroyed the lives of those you now claim to serve? And yet, it was this very guilt, this very awareness of his own capacity for evil, that made him such a powerful teacher. He knew he was saved not by his own goodness, but by something far beyond himself. Here's what happens when you're damaged. You lose the illusion of control. You realize you're not running the show. Most people walk through life believing they're in charge. That if they just work hard enough, plan well enough, be good enough, everything will turn out fine. But the damaged person knows better. They've seen how quickly everything can fall apart. They've felt the ground give way beneath their feet. And in that terrible moment of falling, they learn something the comfortable never learn. They learn to trust what catches them. This is why the universe chooses damaged people. Because they've learned to let go. They've learned to relax into life rather than trying to grip it with white knuckles. Have you ever tried to float in water? If you tense up, if you try to control every movement, you sink. But if you relax, if you trust the water, it holds you. Life is exactly like this. The damaged person has learned to float. Now let me tell you what damage really is. It's not the thing that happened to you. It's not the addiction, the abuse, the failure, the loss. Those are just events. Damage is what happens inside you when you finally admit that those events changed you, that you're not the same person you were before, that you cannot go back to who you were. This admission, this acknowledgement of change, this is what creates the crack through which light enters. Most people, when something terrible happens, they spend all their energy trying to go back to normal. They want to return to who they were before. But the damaged person realizes there is no going back. The old self is gone. And in the space where the old self used to be, something new can grow. Something that wasn't possible before. This is not recovery. This is transformation. And transformation is what the universe is after. You know what's fascinating? The people who have never been broken often have the hardest time with life. They're brittle. When something difficult comes along, they shatter because they've never learned to bend. But the person who has already been broken, who has already been bent out of shape, they have a kind of flexibility. They can move with life's changes rather than resisting them. They're like old wood that has weathered many storms. Strong not because it's rigid, but because it knows how to sway. I want to tell you about something that happens when you accept your damage. You become humble. You realize you're not the star of the show. You're not even the director. You're just one small part of an enormous production. And this realization, far from being depressing, is actually tremendously liberating. Because when you know you're not in charge, you can stop trying to control everything. You can stop exhausting yourself trying to manage every outcome. You can simply do your part and let the rest unfold as it will. This is what the ancient Chinese called Wu Wei, effortless action. Not doing nothing, but doing without straining, working without forcing. And you can only do this when you've been humbled by your own limitations. The proud man, the one who thinks he has it all together, he's always fighting. Fighting against circumstances, fighting against other people, fighting against life itself. He's in a constant state of resistance. But resistance is exhausting. The damaged person has learned that resistance is futile. Not in a defeatist way, but in a deeply accepting way. They've learned to work with life rather than against it. Here's something else that happens when you're damaged. You develop compassion. Real compassion. Not the fake kind where you look down on others and feel sorry for them, but the kind where you recognize yourself in everyone you meet. Because you know what it's like to struggle, to fail, to be at the end of your rope. You know what it's like to need help. And this knowing makes you gentle with others in a way that the undamaged can never be. The person who has never really suffered often judges those who are suffering. They think, why don't they just pull themselves together? Why don't they just try harder? But the damaged person knows it's not that simple. They know that sometimes trying harder is exactly the wrong thing to do. Sometimes you have to stop trying and simply surrender. And this knowledge, born of personal experience, makes them able to help others in ways the comfortable never could. Now, I need to say something about what damage is not. Damage is not an excuse. It's not a reason to give up, or to wallow in self-pity, or to treat others badly. If your damage has made you bitter, resentful, cruel, then you've missed the lesson. You've taken your pain and turned it inward or outward as poison, rather than allowing it to crack you open. The difference between the person the universe can use and the person it cannot is this. One person looks at their damage and says, why me? This is unfair. I am cursed. The other person looks at their damage and says, what is this trying to teach me? How is this making me more human? What am I supposed to learn from this? Both are damaged, but only one is becoming wise. There's a story I love about a man who goes to see a teacher. He says, Master, I have so many problems. I am anxious. I am depressed. I have addictions. I have failed at everything I've tried. How can I possibly be of any use? And the teacher says, you have just listed your qualifications. The man is confused. And the teacher explains, your anxiety has taught you that life is uncertain. Your depression has taught you that happiness cannot be forced. Your addictions have taught you that you need help. Your failures have taught you humility. These are not disqualifications. These are your credentials. This is what I mean when I say the universe chooses damaged people. It's not that it looks for people who are broken. and says, oh, let me use them. It's that brokenness creates the conditions necessary for something greater to work through you. It's like how a seed must break open before it can become a plant. The seed that stays intact, perfectly sealed, perfect in its seedness, will never grow. And what emerges from that crack is not the old you, perfectly restored. It's something entirely new. Something that was always waiting inside you, but could never come out, because the shell was too hard. Now with the shell cracked, it can finally emerge. Let me tell you what I've observed. The people who change the world are never the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who struggled, who failed, who fell down and got back up so many times they lost count. Why? Because struggle teaches you things that comfort never can. It teaches you that you're stronger than you thought. It teaches you that you can survive what you thought would destroy you. It teaches you that there's something in you, or working through you, that is greater than your circumstances. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've learned this, once you've really learned it in your bones, you become fearless. Not fearless in the sense that you're never afraid, but fearless in the sense that you know fear is just a feeling, and feeling's past. You know that even if the worst happens, you'll be okay, because you've already survived the worst, or something close to it, and you're still here. This is the great secret of damaged people. Free to take risks, free to speak truth, free to love without holding back, because they know that holding back doesn't protect you anyway. I want you to think about this for a moment. Who would you rather learn from? Someone who has never failed, who has always succeeded at everything they tried, who has never known real suffering, or someone who has fallen flat on their face, who has known despair, who has clawed their way back from the edge. The first person can tell you about success, but the second person can tell you about life. The universe chooses damaged people because they have wisdom that the comfortable don't have. They've been refined by fire. They've had the unnecessary burned away. What remains is essential, true, real. And this is what the universe needs. Not people who are perfect, but people who are real. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When you accept your damage, when you stop trying to hide it or fix it or pretend it's not there, something magical happens. Other people see it, and they recognize themselves in you. Your damage becomes a bridge, a way for others to cross from their isolation into connection, because everyone is damaged in some way. Everyone has wounds they're trying to hide. But when you stop hiding yours, you give others permission to stop hiding theirs. This is how healing happens. Not through pretending to be whole, but through admitting you're broken. Not through presenting a perfect image, but through showing your scars, your willingness to be vulnerable, to be seen in your damage. This is what allows others to be vulnerable too. And in that mutual vulnerability, something beautiful happens. Connection. Real, deep, human connection. The universe doesn't choose damaged people to do its work. Despite their damage, it chooses them because of it. Because damage creates humility. Humility creates openness. Openness creates space. And in that space, something greater can work. Call it God. Call it the universe. Call it the power of life itself. Whatever you call it, it needs space to work. And damage creates that space. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm too broken to be of any use, I'm too damaged to matter, I've made too many mistakes, let me tell you something. You're exactly who the universe is looking for. Your brokenness is not a bug, it's a feature. Your damage is not a disqualification, it's your credential. Your wounds are not shameful secrets. They're badges of honor that say, I have lived, I have suffered, I have learned, and I am still here. The universe doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real ones. It doesn't need more people who have it all together. It needs more people who are willing to fall apart and be put back together in a new way. It doesn't need more people pretending to be strong. It needs more people who know they're weak and let something stronger work through them. This is the great paradox. Power is made perfect in weakness. Not despite weakness, but in it, through it, by means of it. The very thing you think disqualifies you is what qualifies you. The very wound you're trying to hide is the door through which light can enter. The very damage you're ashamed of is the crack through which grace flows. So stop trying to fix yourself. Stop trying to present a perfect image. Stop pretending you have it all together. Instead, be honest about your damage, acknowledge your brokenness, admit your need for help. And then, in that moment of honest vulnerability, you'll discover something amazing. You're not alone. You've never been alone. And the very damage you thought made you unusable is what makes you perfect for what the universe needs you to do. And the best vessels are the ones that have been broken and put back together. They're the ones that know they're just containers, not the thing contained. They're the ones that let light pass through them because they're full of cracks. And that light, that power, that grace, it shines all the brighter because of those cracks. So be damaged, be broken,